heart attack. Fast, fatal, hard impact. Past painful scars, in fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact, don't ask, grab reactions, jacked, attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new submerged juice. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember you're discreet now, get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before we do begin, let's give a brief little review. Now, in the last part, quite a number of things have happened. We had Deku, and we had Lady Nagant. Lady Nagant, she expressed to Deku a few things. They met in person and talked. She gave him a file that had everything he needed about the Hero Committee. She also told him quite simply, she saw him as a surrogate son, the closest thing she ever had to family in this line of work. And she's happy that now Deku, he'll take action to prevent the Hero Committee from doing what they did to him to thousands of people. They want to try and make an entire organization to monitor pro-heroes, and who will mindlessly follow them to the very word. They want to make children into, well, killers and soldiers, like what they did to both of these two. And Deku, he told that information to Nezu. And Nezu, he didn't really believe Deku whenever he first heard about this entire theory. But, you know, pieces started falling into place. Anytime Deku was at the center of an incident, the committee was always right there behind it to try and figure out where the hell he was, where he was, or how to try and cover it up in a good way. They painted Deku as a villain far more than they should have. And right now, Nezu, he got information about a mass grave where Deku, he found his family. Now, Nezu was quite alarmed. And right now, Deku, he's trying to make a deal with Nezu. There is a war that will happen between the Meta Liberation Army and villains, because pros are not yet equipped to deal with All Might's retirement. The heroes, they have been good with a peaceful life because of the actions Deku and Nagant and the committee have done. But whenever the committee does fall, this entire project they had will crumble, and villains will be on the rise. Japan's low crime rate will probably skyrocket to a point they have never seen before. But they need to get that under control. He will be here to help. He will be here to kill. He will take down the villains, and society, they can rebuild from what's left of the Hero Committee. And they'll restart. Now, obviously Nezu doesn't like this. But Deku, he's basically giving him a choice. Work with him to destroy the committee, allow him access to certain heroes and their quirks, or stay out of this and UA's reputation will be tarnished forever. And the committee, when they go down, UA, they'll have to try and work things out on their own. And trying to help out won't exactly be in the best interest if Deku takes on the committee alone, because they'll have to deal with the public situation and the backlash for what happened. Heroes will have to step in. Politicians and people of authority will have to try and step in. And the war, it could probably ruin Japan. Now, with all that being said, Deku, he was able to get a meeting scheduled with Nezu to meet the Wild Pussycats. And right now, Deku currently does sit there in a room as he is sipping on a cup of coffee. Now, the Pussycats are very surprised. Nezu called them yesterday, and apparently there's somebody here that can help them with their situation. And they can actually help Ragdoll probably get her quirk back. And they're intrigued. And there actually is where Nezu does lead them into a room. As right now sitting there is Izuku Midoriya. And the moment they do see Deku, he does open his mouth. Hello. Now, the moment that has happened, Pixie Pop immediately rushes forwards as right now she has yelled out, villain. Manually stepping forwards and actually going to bring up her hand to try and read his mind. As Ragdoll and the other member of the organization, or I forgot his name, the big guy tries to rush forwards, shouting that he's going to stop him. And the moment all three of them do that, they all do freeze. And right now there actually is Ragdoll, who does look at these two confused. Before Deku, he does go to sip his coffee again and sit it back down. And he does actually talk to Ragdoll, asking her if she would like to get her quirk back. You, we're, nervous, I see. To be expected. Your friends are a little too gun-ho. Now, Nezu, he actually just comes walking up, informing Miss Ragdoll to please have a seat, and he will explain a lot of other things. And right now Deku, he does inform them to all sit down. And right now, they do so. And Deku does turn off the brainwashing. As the moment the three do look around confused, they do actually look towards Nezu. And Nezu does inform them all. Right now, they need to calm down. He is not here as an enemy. And the moment the word enemy is said, there actually is Mandalay, who does talk about how he is a villain. He is a vigilante. He has murdered the doctor. He murdered people, hundreds of them. And the Hero Committee, they have it out for him. Why shouldn't they turn him in? Try to capture him. And Deku does look at all of them. Really? What? Now, Nezu, he does try to explain it to them. And after they do hear about how the committee might have already been, what's the best way for it? Turned in a way, or at least corrupted, they're surprised. And Deku does currently at least turn to Ragdoll, informing her that he does possess a power that can actually rewind her body to a point before she lost her quirk. And she does stand there surprised. Really? Yes. In fact, it'd be very simple for me. I would just need you to take my hand. Deku holding it out. And right now Mandalay, she actually is concerned, asking Deku exactly what does he get out of all this? Why is he helping heroes? Why is he even here at UA? And Deku does look towards her, him informing her, as he actually goes to bring out his other hand, and with it, he does pull his coffee cup into the air. As right now whenever Deku does grab it with telekinesis, he does grab onto it with his hand and tell her. Right now UA plans to help him out. Whenever the war does break out, he'll be there to actually regulate things. He is going to kill the committee because of what they've done and what they plan to do. These people cannot go to jail. They need to die. And what he does plan to do will actually help fix society whenever it does reset. Now, Mandalay just sit there surprised at Deku's casual reaction, his casual proclamation of murder. And right now Deku, he actually just looked at her. And he actually has Godoki bring his hand towards her this time, informing her. If she thinks that he's lying about anything, give him her quirk. He'll show her everything he's seen. Everything in his mind is truthful. And she actually tell him. She is skeptical to look into his mind, because she's not too sure what type of quirk he does have. All for One had thousands of quirks, didn't he? I'm not too sure. I don't know a thing about the man. Never met him in my life. So you aren't one of his sons, apprentices, involved with the League of Villains? No. Now, if you would, your quirk. Now, she does actually hold her hand out to Deku. And the moment she actually has Godoki bring her hand out into Deku's, Deku does actually Godoki bring his hand out and feel it. Interesting. So is that it? Now, Deku does look towards her. And the moment he does try to focus, he does ask her to at least look into his head and will direct her to the memories. Now, Minale does do so. And right now she actually sees a few things. She sees Deku with Lady Nagant, a pro-hero. She watches a man die. And she currently does see a few other things that happen to Deku. Deku's life. All of it. And right now after she does Godoki stand up and scream, she does fall backwards into the chair, breaking out into tears before crying hysterically and then screaming again. And then there's this simple range of emotions she goes through. As right now after Deku does cut her out of his mind by turning his head into metal, she actually does look around the room confused, her body shaking and her hands trembling. And right now the Wild Wild Pussycats, they're alarmed by what the hell just happened. Now, they think that Deku may have booby-trapped his mind. However, Deku, he does tell them that that was just his memories. And I know Mandalay does directly turn to Nezu and confirm. Everything he said is true. And the Pussycats, they do stare at Deku, trying to figure out what the hell to do. And right now she actually going to turn and grab onto Deku's arm, telling him, right now, if this is the society that's going to be what it's going to be, if this is what her family died for, to protect, then Deku deserves her quirk. The committee need to see their evil. They need to see what they've done. And that is going to catch everybody off guard. Now, Deku, he does get Earth Flow, and he does get telepathy. He already has telekinesis from another pro, and then he actually has work with Ragdoll to restore her quirk. Now, Ragdoll is ecstatic, and whenever she does actually feel Search in her body again, she's alarmed and surprised. And Deku, he immediately copied the ability, and he felt it. As right now there actually was the way he was looking around and he felt aware. It felt different. Wow. You have my quirk, right? Yeah. This is so weird. So what are we going to do now? Mendeley looking at Deku. As Deku does somewhat snap back to her and ask her what does she mean. Well, clearly UA knows about this. Clearly people are involved, but what about All Might? I mean, you gave somebody back a quirk they lost, right? I did, yeah. So, I mean, I'm just saying, why not bring All Might back? That is another tricky question. Now, they do inform, well, Mendeley. Right now, if they do try to bring All Might back into this, the committee will be confused. They already know about Aries' quirk, and the fact that it was used to rewind All Might, which suggests that All Might, he had contact with Izuku Midoriya, long after he had his first contact with Izuku Midoriya. And because he would have Eri, who is in his custody. Now, they're kind of confused by it, and Deku does explain it a bit more. It's all like this. If Deku uses it on All Might will be center stage again. Society will rely on him again, and that's not what they need. They don't need some savior who he is, well, around constantly, who wasn't even aware about the actions that happened behind his very back in society. All Might, he might have been the symbol of peace. But right now, peace isn't an option. Right now, there is fighting. There is survival of the fittest. Right now, this is what the committee have prepared him for his entire life. And they're kind of confused. As Deku, he does actually look towards Mandalay, who, as he does go to stand up, does start to explain that Deku's original idea for the project was this. They were told he would be in the All Might program. Now, Mandalay does give the rundown, as Deku walks away to leave UA. Now, with that, Deku, he does leave UA, and right now, a lot of people, they're intrigued by something. Mandalay has her quirk, and with everything she's seen, she hands over the information to Night Eye, and she starts handing it over to a few other people. And Nezu, with the fact that he has now seen a few of the things that Deku's been through, solid corporeal memories, things that are hard to fabricate like this, hard to cover up, getting a better insight to his mental state does make more sense. Deku's cold and calculating because he's trained that way. When he's focused, he's as sharp as a blade. He can cut through anything. But whenever he starts to waver, whenever he starts to unfocus, that's whenever he becomes a bit more soft. Actually a bit more human. But there's just a thing. That boy's mind state from a young age has always been encouraged by violence, always been encouraged by death. I mean, the boy practically thrives in war. And right now, while people will crumble under pressure, Deku will just be sitting down calm as a feather. I mean, it's simple to understand why he's so calm right now. To him, this is just his life goal. Be here when society loses All Might. And right now, that goal's been fulfilled. He's gonna protect society, but he's doing it in his own way. The committee twisted his mind to think this. We do actually have Deku. Deku currently, he does spend the remainder of time gathering a few things. And right now, Deku, he's gathering the material for the committee to have problems with. Now, Deku is still testing out a quirk, and right now, he is intrigued to discover what exactly he'd use it for. He is intrigued, and at the same time, he also is a bit more surprised at how versatile it is. Because really, all you need is a sleight of hand. Now, with that out of the way, we actually do have the committee. Right now, they are having a meeting. This place is top secret, and right now, they're all going over the information. Their current program so far has been good. They have a list of candidates that they can choose from to actually try to get things properly done. And right now, while their source of knowledge right now is from medical information, they want to actually look into recruiting people who haven't even really been born yet. Check into the parents' quirks and discover or look into possible agents. Right now, what they've been doing is simple. They're looking at the quirks first, not the person, or even the individual parents. But right now, what they need to do is start actually training people from birth to do this mission. I mean, it would be easier, wouldn't it? They lost control of Izuku Midoriya, and by the time they got to him, he was what, 5 years old? So they need people younger than this to train, have undying loyalty to them. I mean, the boy's still doing his job, but he's in the public's eye, and that is what does worry them. Now, currently somebody does walk into the room, and right now, they actually go to set something down, asking a few people if they would like any of the following things. To which, somebody does go to grab a cup of tea, and then they do actually ask for something else to drink. Someone gets a cup of water, and one of the members of the committee, they do also want to sit there. The person actually walking out of the room, as right now they do walk down the hallway and try to figure out what to do. There's a lot going on here, and right now this place is well hidden. However, they do need to start cooking. They already had some food thought out, and right now the committee are having their meeting, they're going to be having something to eat afterwards. Now, we do actually have where the person, they do continue to walk down the corridor. However, something doesn't feel right. Their head's getting fuzzy, and the air. What's that smell? Them falling over. And right now there actually is the committee. The members of the committee started to notice something. Whenever they were speaking, their voice started to trail off a bit, and some of them, they felt heavier, and their muscles felt stiffer, and then they just started blacking out. Now, we do actually have where many of them, they do wake up. And right now they're all tied directly to their seats. And Deku, he does ask many of them exactly how they're all doing this night. And many of them, they all do look around. Right now there's a maniac in a mask, and then there's two people next to him. And all of them, they're concerned. Now, Deku does currently stand there. And after he does bring his hand up, he does get to pull the mask off of his face, and tell many of them about how exactly things were easy. Finding them was easy. They really all don't understand how easy it was, do they? Now, many people here do stay quiet, and some they actually just do start to beg for their lives. And Deku, he does stare at many of them. They thought that this location would be fine, they thought they'd be okay here. And right now Deku, he does look directly at a person who they do actually start shouting at Deku to follow their goddamn orders. And the moment Deku does look towards that person, he does stare at them, before walking forwards and bringing his hand up directly to the person's leg. As whenever Deku does tell them that he's not going to do that, and how he does this instead. Deku, he does go directly bring up his right hand, him putting it directly onto the person's head and tapping their forehead, as their head disappears in a geyser of blood starts to erupt from the hole. Now, everybody's watching a marble fall onto the ground. And right now, a lot of people, they're fucking scared. Now, you can just tell many of them, as he really does go to turn and start turning the body into marbles, about what he's going to do. And everybody they do watch. That person was killed fast, in an instant practically. And then Deku does actually bring up the marble, him holding it up before immediately going to turn and toss it at somebody. The marble enlarging back into the head, as the head does go flying through the air, smashing onto someone's lap. And the person they actually try to kick the head away, as right now their legs are tied to the chair. Now, the person is covered in blood, and Deku does announce to them that he does want to play a game with all of them. He wants them all to understand why he's here tonight. There are many, many of them. In fact, a little bit more than he planned for. But then again, he came here prepared. He came here with extra things. So, he wants to understand. He wants to know. What do people think he's going to do? Since he wants to play a game. They always made him do this, right? Play a game and get a reward. So, Deku asking the question. How many people are currently in their program? And right now somebody, they do look around. All of them staying quiet. As over somebody, they don't answer, Deku does look towards the person who, they look stubborn. The most in the room. And Deku, he does remember correctly. They are what? They're not the Madam President, but there's someone important here. Deku walking directly over, and bending down, bringing his hand out and using Overhaul's quirk. Now, everybody they do sit there as the person explodes into a fine red mist. And then everybody do watch as Deku does want to stand up and turn. And informing all of them as he does go to someone takes 10 steps away, that this is what he can do to all of them. Currently, 2 of them are dead in this room. But how many of them do remain? 2 of them are dead. And there is 28 people here. So, him walking back over to the person and informing them. He wants to get his answers, so he's going to at least take his time with this. Bring his hand down onto their leg as the top half of the person immediately reappears, reforming from matter. Now, a lot of people are confused, and they do actually watch. The blood on Deku's hand and body, and whatever sprayed around, much of it is back with the person. They sit there confused. Right now holding up their hands. And they're shaking and just scared. What the fuck just happened to them? Now, Deku does want to bend down to them, getting onto one of his knees, telling the person as they do actually go to bring back their fist and try to smash Deku across the face. Them watching as Deku, he does take the punch before staring at them, bringing his hand directly up onto their arm and going to grab his right hand up towards their shoulder, before going to stand back up and immediately twist and pull the arm. Now, Deku, he tears the arm clean off, and right now, everybody do watch. Deku actually bringing the arm up and destroying it, telling many of them as is go to let go of what remained, that he said he was going to take his time. He never said this wasn't personal, that this wouldn't be painful. Now, Deku does look around. And right now, Deku, he does actually ask many of them if they'll give him answers. Because if he does allow these 2 here to take over, then, well, it's going to be a bit more rough. He is going to harm many of them. And right now, that is indeed the plan. Now, somebody immediately starts talking, expressing about how they'll answer some of his questions. And Deku does look towards them. Really now? Yes, yes. What do you want to know? Please. Now, the person, they do actually look over towards the man who got his arm ripped off, before looking back towards Deku and informing them. He understands much of what happened, much of everything. And Deku does hear the man continue on. Before Deku, he actually somewhat tell Ochako and Mizuki that they can take a few of these people here. And Mizuki does start to walk around. You, and you. Answer my questions. Now, the moment these people immediately respond to her, they forgot about her quirk. Her brainwashing them before cutting them loose and ordering them all to follow her. Now, Ochako does take many of these people, informing them as she does actually pull out her weapon about what they'll all have to witness and do if they try to get away from her. Everything that they have already done here has happened. All of their guards are dead. Right now, the committee, they're on their own. And she is too well trained to be killed by them. Now, many people do sit there. As right now, Deku, he does help her move some of these people. And he does actually at least give Ochako some marbles and a radio. Now, Deku, he actually is intrigued. Right now he does still have a lot of people in the room. And the man who he tore the arm off of, he currently is sitting there, still trembling in pain, as Deku does actually ask somebody if they would like to play a game, because nobody is giving him an answer. Now, Deku, he does hold up a marble, informing them, right now somebody will have to swallow this. And who will that be? The person who does not answer his question will have to swallow it. And he wants them all to understand. This marble, it is something that will hurt them very, very badly. Now, Deku, he does wait. And right now, there actually is where somebody, they do look around. Right now, they don't think that any of them will answer it. If they answer, then somebody will have to be harmed. But if all of them, they don't, then they won't be harmed, right? Deku, he immediately just stared at the man in the chair. As the man, he actually just float upwards into the air. And many of the people here, they immediately watch as the man just go flying over towards Deku before he is placed directly in front of Deku. And Deku actually does look around. Him actually starting to project a few memories into many of their minds. Now, Deku, he does do that. And right now, he does watch as many of them, they react with pain and anguish. Now, many people do scream out. And right now, Deku, he does inform all of them about what he's going to do. As he does bring up the marble and tell everybody, right now this is a penalty. Because they will not answer his question. They won't comply. Now, the man does start to speak out. And Deku does force the marble into the man's mouth before closing his jaw and actually holding his hand in front of it, pinching the man's nose and telling him, swallow the damn marble, otherwise he'll rip him in two. Now, the man does listen, and Deku, after somewhat going to take a step to the right, he does directly go to bring his hand up, and snap his fingers. Now, nobody gets what's going on. However, when the man does actually somewhat start to look down at his stomach and feel something painful, he does scream out. As right now, glass immediately shoots out from the man's stomach. And I believe they do realize a few things. Deku has materials that can harm their bodies from the inside out. And right now, the man, he does squirm in his chair before falling backwards, smashing into the ground, forcing the glass that just went out of his back directly into another part of his body, and pushing deeper into his organs. Now, Deku, right now, this is very therapeutic to him. And we do actually have over the girls. The girls are currently handling their own thing. Ochako, yeah. She has asked Deku to come to her room and actually show off Haywire to these individuals. And the moment the Madam President heard Haywire, she was, well, shaking in her chair. She yelled out for Ochako that she'll answer every question she has. And Ochako, All she did was quite simple. She turned and looked at the video camera, checking the battery and making sure it was still running fine, before informing her that she'll get her questions answered anyway. And right now, all she does need is them to confess. Now, there actually is a word with Mizuki, who she did hear her walkie-talkie go off, and so did the committee members. They heard the word haywire, and that is a word they have not heard in a long time. That's a quirk. Now, they do hear the screaming, and Mizuki does have all of them sitting there, as right now she's ordering them all to play a game. Now, right now 2 people do stand there, as they both do have a knife in their hand. And Mizuki, she does have them aware of what they're doing, telling both of them to answer a question. Otherwise, they'll fight. Now, it's quite simple. Nobody is listening and no one is complying. And right now, things are happening here that the committee, they were very underprepared for. The likelihood of this ever happening should have been 0. But, well, it happened. Now, we do actually have Deku, who after he walked out of his quiet room, he was covered in blood. Him actually going to pat off his shoulders and actually bring his hands up. Him tossing a bunch of marbles in the air as he's catching them with telekinesis and dropping them. Him walking to Ochaka's room, as right now if he does open it, there actually is the Madam President, who she's laughing hysterically in her chair as somebody, they have been killed in front of her. Now, the President does look directly at Deku, and right now she actually stares directly at him with a feral look in her eye. And Deku does walk over in front of her before bending down, and going to directly bring his hand up, turning her arm into a marble. Her screaming out in pain as she just keeps laughing. And Deku, he's been in that situation before. The only thing you can do is laugh through the pain. Laugh through the insanity. Laugh through everything that has happened to you. Laugh through the acid burning in your blood. Laugh through anything. All you can ever do is try to rise through the chaos and hope it ends. But right now, the woman here, she knows it won't end. If they wanted to, they can kill her immediately, and then they can bring her back. Dear God, they could bring her back. Now, right now Deku, he does go to bring his hand up, tapping a few more times and turning the woman's body into marbles, before he does pick them up and walk away. Him and Ochako actually heading to Mizuki's room. And right now Mizuki should just stand there, as the last person there, they do have a knife up to their own throat. Them covered in blood, as right now Mizuki, she's informing them about what to do. And the person they do stand there looking around at the room. All of their colleagues and everybody who they've worked with. Some he's even considered to be friends. They're all dead. And right now, whenever Deku does walk into the room, Mizuki does look towards him, as Deku does ask exactly if he's the last one left alive, to which she would sadly confirm, expressing how their little fighting match turned out a little less than she wanted it to be. None of them have proper combat techniques, and right now this man here, he doesn't even know how to wield a kitchen knife properly. Now, Deku does won't laugh, and the man, yeah, he does stare at Deku, before shouting out something that Deku, he does not really like. Now, Deku does walk over to the man, and Deku grabs the knife out of his hand, crushing it and turning his hand into a marble, it falling to the ground as the man screams out in pain. Do you mind repeating that for me? You heard me. You heard me. You and these bitches are gonna die. You'll be killed. The heroes will get you. They'll win. You'll all die. Even you. Our countermeasures are still built in. Now, Deku brings his hands directly to the man's head, before showing him everything that has been done here tonight. Before Deku, he does one simple thing. He crushes the man's skull, And then he does use Overhaul to reform the man's head. And the man, he sits there staring directly at Deku, before Deku does tell him one simple thing. As the man is looking at Deku, he's alarmed. He doesn't understand. He's still alive. Now, Deku does inform him about what is currently about to happen. Deku bringing his hand up and holding onto a marble. About how all of his friends have been killed. All of his colleagues have been murdered. Now, the committee member, he does start to get into Deku's eyes. Deku, he has a look of satisfaction on his face. And he's still so calm. They trained a killer. No, a fucking monster. And what happened to them? They were not prepared to deal with it. Now, Deku actually does Kadoki throw the man onto the ground, before Mizuki does walk over and look down at the man, him staring up as she immediately does bring her foot down and smashes it onto the man's throat. And around the man, he does try to struggle, as Mizuki does put more and more pressure onto his windpipe, and Deku does stand there waiting. As after the man does stop squirming, Deku, he does start to walk away, him flipping marbles with his left hand, and giving some time. Now, the three do walk out of the current base, and right now Deku, he actually just wants to flip a marble over his shoulder again, before Emily turning around and bringing up his hand, him holding a detonator in it. And right now Deku is going to release his quirk. As Deku does watch, as barrels of gas, they all do start to spring up. Many of the barrels do burst whenever they are opened. And right now Deku, he does actually activate a charge that would light the entire place up, it exploding. Now, Deku just wants her to laugh. And right now so do the girls. All of them had fun. They got their revenge. And the Hero Committee, they're no longer an issue. The war will happen. Heroes will have to step up and actually do their job. Be more active. The villains, they've already been on the rise. And the Meta Liberation Army, they are going to need to have to chat. Talk to the villains. Maybe working together wouldn't be a bad idea. Now, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.